Today on Sports Central, we go over our next team projection of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, a team that went 3-6 overall in the 2020 season, which really, a 3-6 record at first does not look like a very good record, but for Rutgers, that certainly showed signs of improvement for this team, which this has been a team in the past few years that has only been able to get their wins off of non-conference games. So for Rutgers here, it was not a terrible 2020 season at all, and this is a team that certainly has got some room for improvement going into 2021, and that's what we're going over here today. We're also going to go over a few players this team will be losing, who they're returning, and also looking at their schedule for the first time this offseason, starting out with the previous 6 games for this team. And really, this team played a full Big Ten schedule last season. There were a lot of Big Ten teams that could not make the full 9 games, but Rutgers made it happen. They played 9 full games. They were 3-6 last year. Not a terrible season for this team. They had a couple of great wins down the stretch as well. So, I mean, this is a team that also kept it pretty close with some pretty decent teams as well. So, Rutgers certainly, 3-6 is not a great record. I think we all can agree there. But for Rutgers being a team who has struggled once again quite a bit in the Big Ten over the past few years, it was not a terrible season for them. They lost to Illinois there 20-23. That was a close game, certainly a winnable one. They lost to Michigan there 42-48, put up 42 points on Michigan. They beat Purdue 37-30. Lost to Penn State 7-23. They beat Maryland 27-24. Then they finished up the season with a loss against Nebraska. 21-28 was the final score there. So in the first 5 games, this team really did not start out all that great with a 1-4 record, but in the last 4 games, they did get 2 wins. So this team was 2-2 in the last 4 games, which, once again, for Rutgers' team that was expected to go 0-9 last season, not even get a win, considering it's only a conference schedule, this team did get 3 wins in conference last season, which is not bad. Rutgers is a team that, once again, usually you'll see 2 to 4 wins out of, 4 on a good year, and all those wins are always non-conference games. So if you think about it, if Rutgers had a full 12-game schedule last season, we could have seen Rutgers make it to a bowl game, like if they played the same way. So certainly this is a team that played pretty well last season. Look at the returning production. You return your starting quarterback, Noah Vedral, which is going to be a great return there for Rutgers. Looking at him last year, this team did have several quarterbacks. They had, of course, Johnny Langan. They had Artur Sikowski, as well as Noah Vedral. Noah Vedral was the primary quarterback, putting just over 1,200 yards of offense up with 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 62% completion rate, which those stats are not great, especially the touchdown-interception ratio, but for a team that's certainly in the rebuilding phase, not a bad season for Noah Vedral at least. They also returned their top running back there. That's going to be a great return. Looking at him, he put up just over 640 yards, 4 touchdowns. They also returned their top wide receiver in Bo Melton. Shameen Jones is also coming back, and Aaron Cruikshank is also coming back for this team. So all 3 top wide receivers are coming back for this team. Bo Melton, in particular, put up over 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. Not a bad season for Bo Melton. He actually put up a really great season for Rutgers. Once again, 700 yards of offense is not bad, and considering he was only 9 games last season, he put up a good season for this team. Shameen Jones, looking at him last year, he put up just over 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Aaron Cruikshank put up just over 260 yards and a touchdown. So all 3 receivers definitely had some good impacts on this team. But they lose 1 on the offensive line, 1 defensive lineman, and 1 linebacker. Also lose 1 in the secondary, though. So this team does lose 3 on the defense. But overall, this team is still returning quite a bit. Like, the only loss on the offensive side is in the offensive line. So Rutgers, this is a team that's got potential. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to be a great team next season, like an 8 or 9 win team, but Rutgers, this team does have potential to make it to a bowl game next season, especially if they can play the same way as they did in 2020 at least, which this team returning as much as they are, unless players are transferring away, this team should improve next season. So yeah, promising returning production for sure for Rutgers. This was a very young team in 2020, and that's why a lot of people, including myself, didn't think that they were even going to get a win in Big Ten play in 2020, but they definitely surprised a lot of people, including myself, which is a great thing for Rutgers. But how high could this team get next season? I think, a bowl would be outstanding for Rutgers, getting up to 6 wins. That's definitely the goal, I'd say, for Rutgers next season. But how high could this team get? This team could get to 7 wins. There's a chance. I'm saying it's extremely unlikely, but there's a chance that we do see this team get up to 7 wins next season. That is if we see a lot of these players improve drastically, and we also see some great consistency on both sides of the ball here, which, this team has got a lot of talent, but we can be honest here. Rutgers is a team that doesn't have quite the potential or quite the talent that, say, like even Michigan or Penn State do, but Rutgers does have returning production that looks really promising going into next season. That's definitely something to watch out for if you ask me. But looking at your schedule, you start off the season against Temple on September 4th. You got Syracuse then on the road, and of course you got Delaware then on September 18th. So you got three somewhat, I'd say, winnable non-conference games there, especially with Delaware and Temple. Syracuse, with it being on the road, could be a tougher matchup there. Then, of course, you got Michigan and Ohio State to start off your conference schedule. Two pretty tough games, especially that Ohio State one. Then you got Michigan State, Northwestern, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Penn State, and then Maryland for your conference schedule next season. So really, this team having to play all the teams in the Big Ten East, of course, is going to be pretty difficult. Penn State's going to be good next season. Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana especially. Indiana's going to be a really good team next season. All of those teams are going to be really good ones. So if you look at your crossover games, that's really where you've got your important games there going into the Big Ten West. Your crossover games will be Northwestern, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So all three of those games are from the Big Ten West, which Wisconsin and Northwestern both had great seasons last year. I don't see Northwestern being anywhere near as good in 2021 as they were in 2020. So all three of those games are pretty winnable, I'd say. Wisconsin, with it being at home in Rutgers, could be a win as well there. So Rutgers' schedule does have potential going into next season. You've definitely got a few games that I think will be losses, but this team does have potential. But anyway, looking at the first half of your schedule, Temple, Syracuse will be close games. Delaware is going to be a win. I'd say, honestly, we could see Rutgers start off 3-0 next season. Would not surprise me, at least, to see this team with a 2-1 record at the start of next season. Michigan's going to be a close one there. I'm not going to really predict any team there yet. Ohio State's going to be a loss. I think Ohio State's just too good of a team, and I just don't see the Buckeyes losing to Rutgers anytime soon. Then, of course, you got Michigan State. That's also going to be a closer matchup there. So, really, you only got one guaranteed loss in the first 6 games. I'd say that's pretty good for this team. Looking at the second half of your schedule, though, of course, you got Northwestern. Then on the road there, that's also a winnable game. I'm going to keep it close for now. Illinois, I'd probably favor Rutgers in right now. Illinois is not going to be a very good team next season. Wisconsin's also a winnable game. So all those games are going to be close ones. Indiana's going to be a loss. Penn State's going to be a loss. Both those games are on the road in the later parts of the season, which both teams are certainly going to be very motivated and certainly are going to be on big missions in the later parts of the season. So I think both games will be losses there between Indiana and Penn State. And then Maryland, of course, to finish out the season will also be a close one. So this team has got some potential, I really do think, next season. If you look at this team in general, they do have 3 guaranteed losses on the board here, but I do see this team. Even if you start off the season, I'd say probably the early parts of the season are definitely going to determine how this team is next season. If they start off the season, say 1-2, this team is more than likely going to have 4 or 5 wins at the end of the season, maybe even 3. If this team starts off 2-1 or 3-0, this team should be on the course to possibly make it to a bowl game, especially if they're 3-0. If this team starts out the season 3-0, you can watch out for a potential bowl season. But anyway, your ceiling for next season is going to be 7-5. So that's kind of the upper limit for this team next season, which I'd say, if you get to 7-5, that would be an outstanding season. Once again, Rutgers is a team that hasn't made it to a bowl game in quite a while. So yeah, 7-5 record will definitely be the best case scenario. Projection will be 5-7 next season for Rutgers, which is not a terrible record. I've got them just missing out on a bowl game, which is pretty unfortunate for Rutgers. But 5 wins is not a bad season for Rutgers. This is a team that, once again, last season really surprised a lot of people, and I'd say 5-7 is a pretty great improvement. As for the floor, it's gonna be 3-9 for Rutgers, so that's kind of the bottom limit. So I've got this team at least getting 3 wins next season. Temple, Syracuse, and Delaware, you'll probably get 1 to 2 out of there, and of course, I think you'll get at least 1 or 2 more wins out of the rest of your schedule. But anyway, the wraps up my projection for Rutgers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this team. 5-7 will be a projection for this team. Stay tuned for From All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.